1974, Jeep introduced their first Cherokee SUV, which was supposed to be the sportier version of the Grand Wagoneer SUV of the time. In 1984, it was completely redesigned as a smaller body-on-frame four-wheel drive SUV. And this is pretty much what started, or at least to everyone's understanding, the small four-wheel drive off-roading SUV phase and the craze to go along with it. Along the way, between 84 and 2001, it did receive a facelift, and these two designs are what most people know and love. And then in 2002, Jeep completely redesigned the Cherokee and removed the name Cherokee for the North American models, calling it the Patriot. This model ran until 2007. In 2008, there was another redesign of the Liberty, which ran until 2013. And then in 2014, Jeep made this. This is the 5th generation Cherokee. This particular example is a 2015 model. And before I get started, huge shout out to my amazing friend Megan, who lent me this car to review, my first truly borrowed car that doesn't live at my house that I've reviewed. Also, one more shout out to my awesome wife who got with my awesome friend Katie to make this shirt for my channel. Now, no, I'm going to wear all the time. Now let's get on to this review. All right, now let's start with front end styling, which was pretty controversial for this particular model year range of Cherokee. In fact, I actually for a while thought it was just the goofiest looking thing, but it has started to grow on me and look a little more aggressive. Now on the front of the hood, we see Jeep's signature 7-slot grille design. That has pretty much never changed. Down here in these plastic housings, you actually have the headlights. And then up here you have your turn signals and your LED running lights. Of course, when these turn signals come on, your LED running lights turn off so that they're more visible. This design, I always thought was really weird. I just thought it looked really weird. What's odd though is I think I've seen more SUVs going to that now. The new Blazer has this type of setup. The Hyundai Palisade, I think, has this type of setup. So there's a lot more companies actually doing this, whereas Jeep has actually redesigned the Cherokee since this design to look a little more conservative. But this was probably the wildest, weirdest looking design they ever had. I have to admit though, it has grown on me a little bit. It doesn't look that bad. Rear end styling of the 15 Cherokee is not quite as wild as the front. As you can see, you've got this ring, if you will, of LED taillights that light up all the way around on and off of the lift gate. When you activate brake or turn signal, you do only get this outer part here that lights up, as you can see. The wild thing, at least I think, is the reverse lights. Now when you throw it in reverse, you get light out of here and here, both on and off the lift gate. I'm not really sure why. Maybe my theory is maybe better lighting at night. You can see better behind you. Maybe you can have the lift gate up if you need to and still have reverse lights. I don't know. But inner and outer do both light up, as I shall now demonstrate. Styling's really nothing insanely special. It's pretty much a modern SUV side styling. You got some pretty nice wheels for being the base level sport model. Got some Cherokee badging on the side here, black mirrors. You got a good roof rack, stubby radio antenna up here, and some tinted windows. Really nothing special on the side, but it is a nice profile. You got a little bit of a overhang to the back window, looks kind of good. Otherwise, pretty much your typical modern, we'll say mid-size SUV. Now let's go into the hood and talk about power plant. Under the hood of the 15 Jeep Cherokee, you get two options. One of those options is a 2.4 liter inline 4-cylinder producing 184 horsepower and 171 foot-pound of torque. Now I've never driven one of those, but every review I read and or watched has said that it is way underpowered, very hard to pass on the highway with that engine. And what you should opt for is what we have in this example here, the 3.2 liter Pentastar V6. This cranks out 271 horsepower, 239 pound-feet of torque. Now, whichever way you go, you do get a 9-speed automatic transmission to, of course, help you with fuel economy and power and whatnot. Now we'll move inside to finish discussing powertrain and transmissions. Now, all the Cherokees of this generation going forward are front-wheel drive based. Unfortunately, there is a such thing as a front-wheel drive Cherokee, or Jeep of any sort for that matter. Yeah, I believe even the Renegade is. A lot of them are based on Fiat now because Fiat owns Chrysler. But we have a front-wheel drive engine and transmission up front. Now, all the Cherokees do have a four-wheel drive system. This being the base model Sport, it has the Active Drive 1 system, meaning that it is front-wheel drive. If it's in auto, which is this first option here, it is front-wheel drive until conditions exist that the vehicle believes it needs to go into four-wheel drive. Then it will send power to the rear. In Active Drive 2, on some higher models, you get a 2-speed transfer unit, which will give you a low range. Then if you step up to the high trims, like the Trailhawk, you're going to get Active Drive Lock, which offers even more options, as well as a locking rear diff. Now on the Active Drive 1, we do have a selector knob to switch the modes. You can see we have a snow mode, and we have Sport, not really sure exactly what they all do, and then we have sand and mud, which is kind of cool. You can select, it's got terrain response, you can select the conditions you're in. And if we watch up in the center display screen of the gauge cluster, if we change the four-wheel drive modes, you see the little pictures change. So there's our snow mode, and then there's our sport mode, and there's our sand and mud mode. So they changed it a little bit. Looks like you got a dirty Jeep now. Let's turn it back to sport. Nice clean Jeep. And then, oh, and it's got checkerboards. And now it's in snow mode and it's driving through the snow. All right, now let's talk interior. And I'm going to ask you to excuse the fact that this thing is kind of dirty. My friend has a cat and also didn't have time to clean this thing. We both work a lot. Anyway, so coming into the interior, we'll start with the door panel. We do have all the power options, locks, window controls, mirrors, and actually, anyone who knows Chrysler knows these are the same controls that exist in a lot of models. Our 2015 Town & Country has these same controls, except for this button right here in the middle of the mirrors operates the power folding mirrors. I do have this neat little piece of trim here. I'm not sure if they're going for wood or what, but I think it looks kind of good. Right here we have the button for the fuel door release. So we push that and our fuel door opens. Up here in the gauge cluster we have a nice big tachometer, and I do kind of like the red line zone, which is composed of a bunch of red lines. Really kind of cool. And a pretty high red line, actually the same red line as the Town & Country. We do have lights for the temperature and fuel gauges. I'm not a fan of those, but whatever. And of course we have our big speedometer on the right. On the steering wheel we have various controls. Here's our phone and voice recognition. Over here's a bunch of blank switches for adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, that kind of thing that doesn't exist on this lower trim model. We also have standard cruise control on this thing. And on this side we have the buttons to operate in the center screen menu in the gauge cluster. So we'll zoom in on that. And let's see how we go in. I push the OK button. No, so okay, we can go up and down. There's vehicle info. So we've got tire pressure and coolant temperature in an actual degree reading. Trans temp, that's kind of cool. That's actually handy on four-wheel drive. Oil temp, that's nice to have. Oil life. Battery voltage, and back to tire pressure. We go down, we got fuel economy information. And let's see what she's getting here. Looks like average MPG of 22.5, so they're not bad on gas either. This is our trip info. We got trip A and B, I assume. Continue. Start, stop. Not really sure. I think that might control auto start stop. I'm not sure. We have audio. If you don't feel like looking over to the right, you can see that in the screen. We have little messages. Let's see what we got here. Not really. Okay, I think I messed something up. Okay, here we go. Little messages. So apparently the license plate bulb is out, and that's it. Screen setup. Back to our speedometer, and we can change that. That's in kilometers. Press OK, and we're in miles per hour again. There we go. In the middle here, we do have the smaller touchscreen. I believe this is a 5-inch, if I'm remembering what I researched correctly. Now here's our radio. It is touchscreen, so we can select, and even this lower system seems to be decently responsive. We have media if you happen to have anything connected, phones or whatever. Or here's our phone. Go back to radio. We have a compass, which is kind of cool. We'll go into our settings. And let's see just how responsive the system is. It's actually a pretty responsive system. It's nice and quick. More, we have our outside temperature and we have our clock. We can just put a big clock on the screen if we want to. Screen off. If you want to clean it or just not have the distractions, you have that. Tap to bring it back on. You have a nice big tuner knob, volume knobs right here. Have a little space to store things. And there are things stored here. Remember, I'm borrowing this thing from a friend. Down here's our climate controls. Now this is not a dual zone. This is your basic climate controls. I don't even think it's automatic. And nice big knobs, nice and easy to read. Below that, we have plenty of inputs. We have 12-volt AC, USB, SD, and auxiliary input. Right here we have a nice traditional transmission lever, no electronic stuff. If you want to select the gears, just pop it over to the left, and now you're selecting gears. And then back in, put in park. We do have the electronic parking brake, so if you plan on, drifting in this thing, sorry Charlie. If we come back up to the top, we have a nice little storage compartment right up here on the dash. And up top, sunglasses storage, which has sunglasses in it. I don't think I've ever met anyone that actually puts them in there. Our center armrest is also a console with 2 different levels of storage. If we just open the top here, we have a nice little tray. You can keep shallow things in. Close that and pop open the second half of the lid. We have a pretty deep storage well, so you can actually keep some substantial stuff in there. You also have another 12-volt power slot as well as another USB slot. Over to the passenger side of the car, we have a glove box, but not just any glove box, an insanely deep one. How deep? Well, that's my elbow right there. So a absurdly deep glove box in this thing. Plenty of storage in the front of this car. Also, keeping in mind this is the base level sport model. There is no power adjustable seats. You do have full manual, so you have your front and back, your backrest tilt, and your up and down lever. Okay, now let's talk about getting to the back. Now, first thing about getting to the back is when we open these back doors, instead of swinging to like maybe here like most cars do, or maybe here, we get an almost complete 90-degree angle, which I really like. The back of this is not quite as big as the front, so getting in and out is much easier. I really like that swing angle. Now, if we do climb in here, now I've got this driver's seat back in where I would sit. I'm 6', maybe 6'2", and this is where I'd be comfortable, properly seated. Well, we do have a small indentation right here in the back of the seats that allows more knee room. And it doesn't suck. Now my knees are against the seat, but not tight. I do have good headroom. We're talking maybe about 3 inches above my head, 2 or 3 inches. So that is really good. But I still don't think I could do this for a long journey. A couple hours, maybe max, a trip across town. I can see that. But if I'd ride back here all day long, I'd lose my mind. There's so little back here that I'm not even going to bother bringing the camera inside to show. Your center console, there are two vents on the back of that pointing to the rear. They are independently adjustable up and down, but not left to right. And there's one single dial that controls the airflow to both of them at the same time, whether it's flowing or not. Otherwise, really nothing back here. You got your door panels with the same trim as the ones up front and some cup holders in them. Otherwise, no center cup holders either. 2 grown adults could fit back here for a little while, maybe 3 if you really, really like each other. But if it was all adults riding in this car, I'd say it's a 4-person vehicle. All right, now we'll take a look at the back. Now before we get into the back, I'll show we do have our backup camera mounted here. Actually kind of a common way that Chrysler does it on some models, with just this shaped housing with the camera there, body colored. But it's right there, and it's actually quite useful. Now we have an electric latch here, pull up on that and the door lifts. We do not have a power lift gate. I'm sure on the upper models you do, but not on this. You still have to reach up and pull this thing down by hand. All right, now speaking of the backup camera, if we throw this thing in reverse, it comes up on the screen. Now again, this is a 5-inch screen or so, not very big. So you're gonna watch a little more carefully when you're backing up with it. What I do like that our Town & Country doesn't have is the guidelines that turn with your steering wheel. It should pretty much show you where you're going to go if you continue at that steering angle. I do wish the Town & Country had that, especially being a nicer car with a bigger infotainment screen. I think it should have that, but this is what you get in the base Cherokee Sport model. Okay graphics, it's useful, like I said, it works enough to get the job done. All right, now that we're in the back, if you look around, you can see there's not a lot of amenities back here. There's not even any power ports. Now these seats can fold down to give a nice larger load floor. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff in here and I don't really feel like folding them down, but those do go down and you've got that. Here we got, of course, the anchor points for your child seats. Here, I'm not really sure what this is. I guess maybe a cargo restraint for taller items, not sure, but if we pull here, it pops out and it's metal. Just stick that back in there, pull the latch, and pops back into place. Have a couple storage wells here and over here. Now underneath is really neat. If we lift this panel up, we have this big storage tray, which you can see she's putting to use. You got the jack and tire tools, jumper cables, and I'm guessing we hang this thing. Yeah, there you go. It's got a strap that you hang right up here to hold it up. So we got the big tray, and if we pick up on the big tray, underneath we have a full-size spare tire, as any four-wheel drive SUV should have. So release the strap, drop it back under, put this down, and you got your load floor back. And finally, here's the key, and this is pretty much just your standard Chrysler key, and since this is the base model Cherokee, it has 2 buttons, lock and unlock. On our van, of course, these 2 buttons are for sliding doors, power lift gate, remote start. Higher trims, of course, are probably going to have remote start and power lift gate, but this doesn't. Also, this being the sport model, it does have the physical electronic key, whereas higher models, going up towards the Trailhawk, are going to have a push button starter. But instead here, you just have this and fire it right up. Alright, now that we've given the tour of this Jeep Cherokee, let's see what it drives like. Alright, let's get this thing out and drive it. The 2015 Jeep Cherokee. This done before I run out of light. So, next question about this car is, what is it like to drive? Well, as far as I'm concerned, not terrible. The seats, these are cloth seats. Of course, upper trims you get some leather. You'll get the heated and ventilated options. But these are your base model cloth seats. But they are fairly comfortable. I think I could probably take a trip in these. Driving, of course, not riding in the back. But I'm fairly pleased with the comfort. Driving, super easy, great visibility. In a world where everybody's shrinking the back window, this one still hasn't, and so you can see everything out the back. It's really nice, clear view over the hood, and really an easy thing to drive. I mean, I can't really say much about it other than it's an easy, non-intimidating car to drive. The 9-speed automatic, I don't know about anybody else, but I can't feel it shift. I'll try it again here in a minute once I get through this next light. But it seems to give a nice smooth power delivery, and because of the V6, it's actually fairly peppy. So let's let this car here get ahead, maybe. Maybe not. But this thing is quite peppy. Let's get on it now. Oh yeah, you can definitely climb the speeds pretty quickly. Obviously, it's not a sports car. I pretty much say that in all my reviews because I don't ever review sports cars. Somebody help me change that. But this V6 in this car is very peppy. It will get up to speed at a decent rate. It's definitely no slouch, and I am pleased with that. it on a little bit. Driving into the sun, which is not helpful. And going a little quick. Let's slow down, not get pulled over. You know, pulled over driving a friend's car. Oh no, I like driving this thing actually. It's pretty nice. Alright, let's get back on the road and get a feel for this 9-speed trans. Alright, so you can tell the shifts, obviously, if you're looking at the tach and listening to the engine. If you're not used to anything over 6 speeds, it is interesting to experience so much shifting. But yeah, it's a nice, smooth power delivery. It's nice. This thing actually does not suck to drive. And if you need to pass somebody, just get on it. It'll drop a gear or two, and you can get up to speed fairly quickly. Once again, not at sports car speeds, but it'll get you out of the way if you need to. If you need to accelerate and get out of an emergency, if you just need to pass on the highway because the guy in front of you can't even do the speed limit, this will do it, and it'll do it well. And that 9-speed trans actually really feels good. Now we do have the manual shifting over here. I did test that out. It's really nothing special. I would personally only use it for selecting low gears if I needed them. Definitely not for any kind of sport shifting. So if you plan on using it for that, just keep in mind you're going to have some pretty substantial delays because that's just not what it's designed for. But overall, I like it. It's not bad. I mean, I've said that a few times. Maybe I'm just not good at it. Maybe there's not a lot to say. But yeah, I think this is a really good driving SUV. Obviously, it's not the body-on-frame, truck-based thing that everybody, you know, especially my generation and earlier, grew up to really like. But for a front-wheel drive-based Jeep SUV that I still think shouldn't exist, just because Jeep and front-wheel drive should never be two things that you combine in the same sentence. Despite that, it's a decent car. If you want something to cart the family around in, but there's not a lot of family, this would definitely do it, and it'd do it in some sort of comfort. Anyone who knows cars knows that this is not going to be up on par with the competitors, the Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, Ford Escape, that kind of thing. It's just not going to be up on that same par level in quality or long-term reliability. But I mean, this one's only got 69,000 miles on it. It's still got some life left in it, and unlike a lot of other modern cars, it doesn't have a CVT, so there's that. Alright, and that's the review of the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Sport. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were informed and somewhat entertained by this video and this review. If you were, you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Make sure to also follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram, at that car vlog channel. I actually do occasionally put things up there. Also, if you'd like to be the next one to lend me a vehicle to review and drive for this channel, like my amazing friend Megan has done, make sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. Send me a message, let me know what you got. I'll see what I think of it. I will, as always, link a list down below. Actually, it's a link to a list of cars I would be interested in driving. Some may be a little bit more ambitious than others, but it is what it is. Anyways, once again, I hope you enjoyed it. You know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, follow me. And thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.